years. Bolstering cybersecurity and defense systems in the U.S.
This budget provides the resources we need to keep Americans safe, ensuring that our military remains the best prepared, best trained, best equipped military in the world.
Here at home, the president is looking to distance himself from defund the police calls, proposing $20 billion for the Department of Justice to use on crime prevention programs and federal law enforcement, and $30 billion for new law enforcement, crime prevention, and community violence intervention over the next decade.
The answer is not to defund our police departments. It's to fund our police and give them all the tools they need, training and foundation and partners and protectors that our communities need.
The president is also proposing a so-called billionaires tax, a 20% minimum tax rate for the wealthiest Americans to reduce the deficit. He says it will help cut inflation.
If this new tax even passes, and that's really highly questionable, it's very unlikely, almost certain it will not bring in the amount of money that the Biden people say it will. So the annual deficits are going to remain high, and the national debt's going to keep going up. We're at 30 trillion now, and we're headed to 40 trillion.
All this as new polling from NBC News shows the president's lowest approval rating yet. Only 40% approve of his job performance. A staggering 66% disapprove of his handling of the economy. And the economy isn't the president's only problem area. 7 out of 10 Americans say they have low confidence in his ability to handle the Russia-Ukraine crisis. In his recent trip to Europe, the president's staff had to walk back several verbal gaffes, suggesting to U.S. troops they were going to Ukraine, saying the U.S. would respond in kind to chemical attacks by Russia. And this ad-lib about Russian President Vladimir Putin.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Yesterday, the president refused to take it back.
I'm not walking anything back. The fact of the matter is I was expressing the moral outrage, and I make no apologies for it.
As to whether the president's budget proposal can help right the ship, analysts point out the president merely makes suggestions. It's up to Congress to write the budget. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
But the budget is a really good way to see where the president's priorities are, and it's like a candy shop, by the way. There's all kinds of goodies in there for groups that come with money to the table for elections. Now, I'm going to break some of this down for you so you know what's really in it. There are a bunch of analysts who immediately started going through the budget, and they are saying without hesitation that the president's plan to target billionaires or the rich is really a bait and switch and gaslighting. Their words, not mine. It's going to hit middle-class Americans making less than $400,000, married couples, and consumers. This idea that the new billionaire provision would eventually lead to higher taxes, it's really going to do nothing except up taxes on ordinary Americans who are nowhere near the billionaire category. Others are saying that the corporate tax increase is going to, and this is basic economics, it gets passed. If there's an increase on corporations, it gets passed down to the consumers and to the workers. The plan calls for closing tax loopholes, including the carried interest loophole, ending fossil fuel subsidies. They're going to try to get you in an electric car no matter what, changing rules for estate and gift taxation. It calls for measures to improve tax compliance and modernizing rules related to digital currencies. Crypto trying to work its way in there. Let me go to the safety of human life, because, oh yeah, if you think his proposal didn't include payback to groups like Planned Parenthood, you're asleep at the switch. Absolutely it does. In fact, National Right to Life has already weighed in on this. The Hyde Amendment, they said, is widely recognized as a significant impact on the number of abortions in America, as having a significant impact on the number of abortions in the U.S. It saved an estimated 2.4 million American lives. It's been targeted by pro-abortion forces in Congress and the White House at every opportunity. But this Congress, the Hyde Amendment, enjoyed 45 years of bipartisan support until this Congress. 45 years of bipartisan support. The National Right to Life is saying despite the inclusion of Hyde in fiscal year 22, President Biden is forging ahead with a radical abortion agenda and is proposing to include taxpayer-funded abortions in his financial year 23 budget. And let me tell you just some of the things that it does. A, it eliminates the Hyde Amendment. That allows allows taxpayer funding for abortions on demand through Medicaid, Medicare, disability, other programs funded under labor and health and human services appropriation bills. It eliminates the Dornan Amendment, which would allow the District of Columbia to fund abortions through its Medicare program. It eliminates the Adderholt Amendment, which would lift the federal ban on gestating embryos, such as three-parent embryos. All of this experimentation and trying to define the new family in the laboratory. There is a 40% increase in funding for Title IX family planning programs, by $113 million to $400 million from $286.479 million. The funding is going to serve as a slush fund for Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry. $5 million for implicit bias training grants for healthcare workers. 72% increase in funding to the UN Population Fund by 23.5 million. From 23.5 to 56 million. So the numbers there for abortion, staggering, make your eyes glaze over. As you heard in that report, this is his proposal. Now Congress has to hammer this out. They do that when they hear from you. If you don't want taxpayer funding for abortion, you tell your elected representative. Operators are standing by. Got those passports? Get ready. No TSA, no turbulence. Fly our way to Australia right after this.
Everyone wants to achieve financial freedom. Some do and enjoy its blessings. So what's their secret? I'm Rob West with your Money Wise Minute. Those who learn to manage money wisely know there's one non-negotiable requirement for achieving financial freedom. It's learning how to live within your means, actually below your means, and to do it for a very long time. That enables you to save for the future. Christians have an advantage here, but sadly, many don't use it. It's knowing that God will provide for our needs. We can find freedom and contentment in that. Hebrews 13:5 read,
Essex Museum
has enough evidence.
We'll do former White House officials.
Body so amazing.
Is because
Protein with 30 grams. 37. If you owe back tax,
Ponerlo como una felonía.
Esa es la autoridad.
And tetanus. Booster step up and
that he wants to purchase but can't find it.
Now, something provides a clue. We're America's law.
the Attorney General
go figure it out.
and ought to